2. There's some really fantastic things on an add-on platform to Add-on COP, which is called EM Learning. And I think as a group of IMT leads and divisional leaders, I think it's important to show you both. I thought I'd bring in the big guns to run this session. So you'll see a couple of new faces. I'm pleased to say they're both Red Cross volunteers though. So we've got Fiona, who's a project officer at EMV in capability and risk. She also acts as the executive officer to the state response controller on the roster. So Fiona's recently been working pretty tightly with Deb Abbott, sorry. And we've also got Steph. Steph is a SCC officer, so Steph works full-time in the State Control Centre. So both of them have heaps of experience and they use EM COP every day. It's their bread and butter, so nobody better to give us a little rundown. So really the session is a 101 session, so I know that we've probably got a bit of a varying level of knowledge about EMCOP. For some of you, you would have just got your logins and just had a quick look. I know there's other people like Alice in the IMT and Paul, you've probably used it a little bit more. So I hope everyone gets something out of this session. And we can absolutely ask Fee and Steph to come back on board if there's little parts that we want to look into a little bit more deeply in future. So we'll divide the session in two. Steph's going to run through EMCOP first. We'll stop for some questions and answers at the end of that. If along the way, if you do have questions, just pop them in the chat. I'll kind of moderate things and I can interrupt if there's something that we need to go back on. And then the second half of the session, Fee will go over EM learning. And again, at the end, we'll have some questions and answers. Down the bottom on the REDS event are 2 instruction pages on how to register for your EMCOP and your EM learning accounts. It is absolutely fine if you have not done so already. You can do it at any time. But if you do, you could play along at home if you wanted to log in. Great, Steph, I'll hand over to you.
Or me, I think I might be.
Oh, did I get it wrong? Sorry. There we go.
We're just going to share this bit out. So.
Okay, perfect. Over to you.
Go. Let me share my screen. Alrighty. Can everyone see this beautiful map?
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty, so I'll just start off giving a bit of a rundown on just this is when you log in, you'll come into this sort of situation tab. So there are ways that you can join incidents, but we won't actually join any because that's where we can actually join things and draw on maps and incident screens that are actually being used. So this is good. Anything that you edit and play with in this screen is just your screen, and you know you won't affect anyone else. So that's nice. So up in this corner up here, so we've got maps. So it always sort of defaults to this map, which is a pretty useful one. It's the one that I'd use the most. But you've got a couple of other fun things to play with here. Just gives you a bit of a, some different backgrounds. So the main one we'll use is this one, and then all of these here are incidents. So just move you guys down. So you can turn these on and off up in this data tab up here. So I'll turn them all off. So nice empty map, but then you can turn on each incident. You can zoom in as well, so we can see, as Abbie was saying, there's a bit going on with Vic Emergency at the moment. So each one will have a different, different symbol. So there's some that are, might not be sort of categorized as well, but let's have a look up here. A CFA incident could be sort of any sort of fire or house fire or structure fire. You might also have whatever CFA are responding to, or could be car accidents, might be cleaning up spills on roads. SES, anything that SES are responding to, here we've got building damage to the roof. So that's just your incidents. Now, in this data tab as well, you know, you've got lots of different layers that you can turn on to your map. So one that we use quite a bit is this boundaries. So we've got emergency services. So we'll put our Victorian EM regions on, and you'll see that we've also got a Red Cross divisions one here. So it gets a bit crowded, but if you zoom in, you'll see that a lot of them do sort of mirror some of the same boundaries, but you know, the metros might just be split up a bit. So you can just tick and untick to turn those off as you please. And so a lot of them, yeah, the main ones that we use is these, but you know, you can turn on any sort of, a lot of them will be quite similar to each other. So you can sort of layer up as you please, but that's just useful to sort of look at what incidents are occurring in your region, and you can sort of just get an idea of what's going on. So, and you'll, you know, some of them are a lot larger than others once we get up here, but what else? There's some quite useful little layers in here. You've got local government LGAs as well, weather districts, river systems. You know, my dad likes to ask me questions about catchments and things, a bit of a geography fellow, likes to, so you can, there's a lot of different things that you can play with in there. Warnings we can put on, so we can put on Vic emergency warnings. So this will sort of layer what's on at the moment. So you can see the whole state. So a lot of that would be to do with the COVID warning that's up at the moment, but you can also click in and see what's going on. So here, this is the communicable disease for the avian influenza outbreak that we also have going on at the moment. A lot of these would be river catchments, riverine flooding, things like that. So you can sort of click in and just see what's going on. And if you wanted to, you could layer that to, you know, your region again. So you'll be able to see sort of what's going on in each division there. What else is useful? There's some interesting stuff in infrastructure down here. We go to EM emergency services. I'll zoom into a little area. You know, you can click this and we can see where all the little fire stations are, police, SES units. So you can sort of just tick and untick things as you please. Incident control centres and regional control centres I thought would be useful. So that's if, you know, there's any incidents going on and people might be getting deployed out to an incident level to relief centres and things like that. You'd probably be working quite closely with these ICCs that are set up in each area. What else is useful? So you can just have a play with all of these really and just explore once you're in. The upload is any sort of other additional layers. So as I was saying before, we had, you know, avian influenza going on as well. So, you know, they've put in sort of agricultural regions and things like that. So the MCOP team behind the scenes can sort of develop these layers and upload as they need. What else can I show you guys? So it's just a bit of fun, really. I like to just play around and.
Thanks, Fee. So in the SEC, this is something that we would have up all the time, and you guys would be requested to change the layers, you know, per the incident or yep. whatever was going on.
We can show you what one looks like. Is it the 8th today? Let's go that one. So this is something you wouldn't want to do, but this is what we have up at the moment in the State Control Centre on the screens. So what this is I've just selected, you know, we've got sort of the outline. This was what we had up for COVID restrictions. So we had different, when each area was in sort of different restrictions, you can draw and you can outline on the map.
Yep.
That sort of stuff. But
so this is something that we can do in our IMT. We can create our own room and put our kind of regions on there and make notes on there for our people in the IMT.
Yeah, so you do that through, you can draw and sort of create and draw all sorts of things in here. There are on EM Learn, which I'll be able to show you later on. There's an MCOP one as well, and that's a bit, you can go into a bit more specifics about the incident sort of level of MCOP and drawing and creating and doing your own things in there, which was quite useful. Yep. We'll just get out of there so we don't draw on there. You see. So that's sort of just the overview of sort of when you first get in, that's what you'll see. And so, you know, in your own time, you can have a look. Another quite useful stuff is the rain. Oh no, not this one, the rain radar. So as you can see, there's a bit going on there at the moment. And what is quite interesting is when it's not as heavy though, and you can track sort of SES incidents and things like that, and you can often track it going across, like with the rain, you can see the incidents as they come in. And other things that we might use in the SCC during summer would be lightning. So we'd put sort of cloud to ground lightning. There's not a lot at the moment. But they'll come up as little crosses, and so you'll be able to sort of see, you know, a real risk in summer is of dry lightning to start fires. So you'll be able to see sort of, you know, if you've got the lightning plus the rain band on, you can sort of keep track of that sort of stuff. And we might look at wind barbs and things like that. You can see which direction and how heavy, you know, how strong the wind is. We've got temperatures. There's a bit, yeah, and then the fun ones is just the aircraft tracking really, so that's just a bit of fun. You can follow, you know, see what sort of helicopters, so there's all sorts of fun layers to just have a look at as well. Anyone got questions about that bit?
No, but we've got some chat going on about how we could use these layers more in the IMT. And yes, Susan, these are real-time changes. So this is current information.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What's next, Fee?
So we're going to go into some of these tabs next. So I might stop sharing mine and we'll switch over to Steph now.
Right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So we're just going to go into the desktop tab here. Got all these little thing up the top. So I'm going to start with operations. I'm going to go into the advisory bulletin here. Fee is going to speak a little bit to this as well.
So this one, I just thought this one would be quite useful to you guys because it's relief considerations for class 1 emergencies during a COVID pandemic. So this one that's currently up there, I think was March or April dated. And so it was pulled together by the relief recovery team at EMV and the State Control Centre to provide a bit of guidance for regional controllers and, you know, local government areas in really implementing relief arrangements in a class 1 emergency. So that's your sort of natural disasters, floods, fires, but in a COVID setting. So it's just quite a useful one. I know that one is currently getting reviewed and finalised again, another version. So when that one comes out, it'll be good one to just have a read through because it's a lot of work has been going on behind the scenes with the relief recovery team in, you know, how just the practicalities of if you had to set up a relief centre, what does that look like in a COVID environment? So it's a really good document for you guys. Abbie would probably be advised.
We've contributed to it. We're on the working group for the new document, so we're eagerly awaiting.
Yeah, so hopefully, from what I've heard, it's imminent. So when that comes out, that's a really good one for you guys. But that's, you know, so those get posted on MCOP. So MCOP's just a really great portal full of, you know, if you think of something useful, it's probably linked here somewhere.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Fee. All right, so the next one, we're just going to look at the activation levels. So this has all the activation level for the day and 4 days ahead, sorry, for the SCC. So you can see today our class 1 emergency, it's our weather event, is at tier 1 because of the weather going on today. We've got the SCC room manager up the top for the day and the duty officer. And then our class 2 emergency is tier 2, so that the class 2 emergency at the moment is COVID. So that's just a really good little tab to go into if you want to see what's going on in the SCC. Then we have our SCC, RCC, ICC readiness. so we can see who's on for the day. And we've got our state control. So the relief and the recovery manager, that's a good one for Red Cross. And then we also just have our regional controllers and our incident control, but there's not much going on there at the moment. So the next one, I'm just going to look at is down here, schedule operational. So this shows all the meetings that are going on for the day and then the upcoming ones over the weekend. So out of the SCC. So that's a good little tool if you want to know what's going on. Next.
And I think just a bit of FYI for our gang and particularly for the IMT, that's probably those meetings that Kate would be attending, and then that would be fed back down. A lot of those outcomes from those meetings would be fed back down into the commander. So often we're waiting for those meetings to happen. So we'll be looking at that schedule, waiting for that to happen to get an outcome, you know, which will indicate our next actions in the IMT.
Cool. Thanks, Abbie. So we typically run during summer an SCC room briefing. At the moment, we're not doing any live briefings, but we are preparing the slides for it. So there hasn't been one today, but normally the BOM will be putting weather slides in, and there'll be intel, there'll be fire behaviour analysts and a couple of other functions to show what's going on for the day. So in summer, we have a representative from the Bureau of Meteorology in full time. And I'll just go into the live briefing. So you'll actually be able to go in at 11 o'clock and view this live. So this is where you would go into. And obviously there's nothing in there today, but then you will be able to go and look at the recording. If you haven't come on at 11 o'clock, you can go in up until 11 o'clock the next day. Just get out of that. Every day we do produce a daily intel summary. So if you go just down to the reports section on this operations tab, click on that. And that's released at 8:30 in the morning. So it just basically has a summary of all the weather coming up for the day, synoptic chart. We have the severe weather intelligence briefing, which I'll cover in a moment. Also our fire weather. So just a few FYIs of things that are going on in the state, including all the statistics from our agencies. So you can see what's happened in the last 24 hours. And another summary of our warnings and advice, fire bans. So it's a good little tool just to get a good idea of what has happened in the last 24 hours and what is coming up in terms of weather for the day. And then every week, the Intel team produce a weekly Intel summary. So at the moment, they do have a bit of a COVID focus as well. So that's a really good one if you want to know what's going on in the COVID space across the state. The information can be a little more accurate than the media.
When is this one produced? Steph, I've never actually seen this before. Is this the strategic intel team producing this? Yeah,
the
great.
strategic intel team do a whole heap of products, but
Yeah.
and I think now they're trying to make sure that these useful ones are getting up there on MCOP.
And what days are these produced?
These ones I think are a Friday, the weekly. They sort of prepare them during the week, and then I think the weeklies are a Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next one will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock. So yeah, that's really, really interesting, and that will probably be a lot more relevant so we can see what's going on over summer in the COVID space as we come into a COVID normal and running parallel with the fire season. So that will be interesting. And then next down there, we've got the SCC media talking points. So this is basically a document, actually. This another little thing with MCOP is sometimes when you are going into documents, it will ask you to log in again. So don't worry about that. It's not stuffing up. You just have to enter your details again.
Just another layer of sort of password protection and security, really. So, yeah.
So the media team prepare this every day when there's stuff going on. This will go out to media stakeholders like other agencies, so the comms teams and other agencies. So at the moment, they've been releasing all the COVID numbers every day in this. It's sort of the main thing that's going on at the moment. And that's just, yeah, it's a really good tool. I like to have a look at it every day when I'm in at work, just to see what's going on in the world.
And I think for divisional leaders and everybody that is in this meeting, I think this is a great tool for your talking points as well. This is the one source of truth. So all of this is accurate and vetted.
They go through
it's got a sign-off process. So if you need to speak to anything in any of your meetings, or you need some information for our sit rep, this is really a one-stop shop. And when the SEC is fully staffed, I mean, this could be produced and updated, I don't know, 5 times a day or more.
Multiple times.
And Fee and Steph, I've just got a question from a couple of people. Is there any way we can access, or is there any linking between what all the data and the layers that we can see for Victoria and other states?
They would be just on the, if I would just start sharing again if you want, Steph. So there would be ways just in this, we've got these buttons here in the data. So you can see other incidents going on. Let's put on New South Wales. You know, so we used this a lot during last year when we were deploying people to New South Wales and Queensland. The map layers don't quite work as well, but you can at least see a bit more.
So really just the incident.
Yeah, so it's mainly the incident level. I'd say in the desktop section maybe. Yeah, so the ILU sections sometimes give you a bit of information just about other deployments and things. So it's more sort of what's going on. So not so much, I think, a connection with the other states other than that sort of a little bit more. You can see, so we use this quite a bit over summer, over last year, you know, the New South Wales incidents and things like that. But I do know there are sort of trickiness with incorporating the maps from New South Wales and over the border stuff. So I know that was a bit of an issue raised last year. So I think it'd be getting worked on. And now obviously it's going to be a new challenge going into this season if we still have border controls. And I know that there is also a lot of work being done there as well, just in terms of emergency service movement across the border and things like that. But yeah, so I think that's a bit of a challenge. I think as we've been saying, you know, this is a really great tool that Victoria has, and it's, I think, a good matter of trying to tap into what's going on in the other states, really. Might get back
Thank you.
Right, so the last little bit on this operations tab that I want to show you is just the state sit rep at 1900. Currently it's not being produced, so when you click into it, it'll come up with a blank sort of document. But the SAC team update this every day, so you'll see the most up-to-date information in a little more detail than the 8:30 report that goes on in the morning. You can just have a little play around on this. There are some things like these COVID that you won't be able to access. They're password protected. They are for our high level executives, so we don't go into that. I'm just going to go into the weather tab now. So this one's really, really interesting. So we get this part is the fire weather and heat briefing. So this gets updated twice a day, once in the morning and in the afternoon. So this is a product that the BOM produced for us. So you'll be able to see all the fire danger ratings for the day, there's a 4-day forecast. That's an official forecast, and then it's unofficial after that 4 days. And you can see a key down the side here, your symbol interpretation. So they do put these in so you can see the lightning and then the precipitation for that. And then they just have a summary of the weather for today, tomorrow, and then an outlook for the rest of the week.
So this might be useful if people are producing situation reports or anything like that. It's good info there.
Yeah. And then the fire weather briefing audio, I won't click on it because it will start playing, but the BOM also record the audio, so you can actually go in and listen to it if you prefer not to read. Sometimes it can be really interesting to listen to that as well. Twice a week, we get the severe weather briefing. So that will be updated again tomorrow, but you can see for today, we've got some nice little colours in there. This is more of an SES product that the BOM produce as well. So they'll actually utilise this in getting prepared. And this is a year-round weather product. So the fire weather briefing has only just started being produced again, but this continues throughout the year. So again, it has more keys down the side here and has a summary of the significant weather. And that's just a really good little tool to start predicting what's going to happen for the rest of the week.
Ooh, I can come back on, Steph, if you like, and we can go through some more of the sections.
Peter's just asked a question about with all the tabs to navigate the site. So Peter, there is a lot of information on here, and really we're just touching on some of the key stuff, but the only tabs to navigate are the big ones along the top: situation log, desktop, library and help, and then the sub ones underneath. So those are the only tabs to navigate.
You can click around and back and forth, and I did see, I think, some questions, regional stuff.
Anything that you're not allowed to see is password protected, so don't be worried when you click into things. Don't be afraid to.
Yeah, just have a play. So I think people were asking about plans and things for regions. So if you've got your desktop, your operations, and you can scroll down and you've got information about each region, there's things like plans there. And so there's all sorts of, region and LGA specific plans in there that would probably be useful to people. So similar sort of stuff at that state level. Each region has its own little section here. So in sections in this one, so we've gone through operations, a bit of weather, warnings and things will just take you to sort of the Vic Emergency website and other sort of weather warnings. In sections, there's a whole heap of more information. So across the top here, you can this just takes you down to that section of the page. So we've got aviation up the top. So that's useful if you're working in the SCC or, each section, each functional unit sort of has its own section in here with just quick links to products and information that they need to access.
And this is definitely useful for people who are in the IMT to have a squiz about what is on here for your function as well. So the naming convention doesn't always line up. For example, there's social media on here, and Susan, that might sit in with planning, but definitely some good tools. And I guess these are all the things, if you came in to do social media in the SCC, this is all the tools that you would use, all available to us.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff in there. There was one I was going to show you guys. I think it's down the bottom. I'll show you. Relief recovery. Where's that? So this one here, you'll see we've got a link to REDS, got Register, Find, Reunite on there. Any sort of useful documents. I'll take you through this IMT toolbox in a moment. So yeah, there's all sorts of just this one as well, information here, reference is quite good. So this one here, we've got desktop quick reference, and that will show you sort of what things are, you know, any useful. This is a good just sort of overview of useful buttons and tools, and it's sort of a bit of a key for you in there. So in that reference tab, you've got a bit of information there that would be useful. Some of these utility ones are just interesting. What else have we got? So yeah, a lot of the social media stuff, all the different platforms, social media handles. So this is what the team, they'll come in and monitor. So you can, these are just sort of quick links. So a lot of the things on MCOP are just sort of links to other places, but just a handy little area for those to all be in the one place. So we'll go into, so this one here, this button will take you into another tab. So this is a link, it's going to take us to the library. So there's a couple of ways to get to a lot of the information that we need. So this big black tab up the top is the library tab. So this is, there's a whole lot more information in here. So you can start from the top. It just sort of gives you what the library is really, some sort of backgrounds and what's in there and how to use it. So that's just a good sort of intro. But down here in the IMT toolbox, this is really good. It's got links, it's got templates, all sorts of things. So if we say logistics, if you're working in the logistics section, it'll give you a bit of an overview. Things like handover templates, checklists for the day, guidelines, forms, there's, you know, anything that you might need if you're working in the logistics function, you'll be able to find. And for any of this stuff, you've got, if you're in the IMT and you have questions, you can always call the SCC. I've been on the receiving ends of phone calls in the support team of someone going, I think this is in the IMT toolbox and I don't know where, and we sort of can, you know, work together and often sort of help people out. So there's all sorts of stuff in here. So then each section, so relief recovery, we've got some more, you know, so you've got handbooks, introductions, handbooks, you know, anything else you might need. Handover templates, transitions to recovery. So this is just really useful if you're working in that area.
And so any safety documentation or safety bulletins or anything like that that gets produced gets saved in the library. So I think it's a good place for all of us to look for resources when we're guiding some of our planning. You know, I think if it's been produced by the SCC and been signed off by the Commissioner, which most of these, all of these documents would have, I think we're pretty safe to use them within our planning.
Yeah, and you've even got this page here, state and region operational plans. So that's got regional readiness, strategic operational plans, resourcing plans. You know, we've got all the relief recovery plans for COVID in here. So, you know, this has got, it's, you know, approved and signed off here and it's been distributed to these people. This gives you sort of, this one goes into detail about, you know, yeah, so we've got food and other products and relief arrangements. You've got the lead is the SCC and the Red Cross. So that might have been a lot of work that you guys or your team have been doing a lot in, which is the, you know, that provision of food relief and stuff. So that's all laid out and, you know, in all of these plans here. So, and it's also got relevant past plans up there. So you've got relief plans for, you know, our fires from last season and things like that. We've also got operational arrangements for COVID-19. So if you just want to sort of get a good understanding of how things are working in that COVID context, some of those are quite good as well. Assurance and learning plans. So this is another good page, that the region and operational plans. And then these ones are just some good background information, any of these tabs right up the top here. So doctrine, this is all of the, you know, the framework and legislation and everything sort of behind what we do. Arrangements as well, the different acts and, you know, the MV, things like that. And then your state and region plans again. Incident control, you've got sort of ICC specific functions as well. So each one will then have its own, another section in here. So there'll be more information about public information, but that's more at the incident level. You know, you've got the incident, the region and the state level. So you can just go in, and then you can also use the search function. So you can search by a keyword if you're sort of struggling to navigate through that sort of stuff as well. And then as well, just up the top here, we do have this lovely help tab, which will open up a new one for you. You know, some of these, it's just sort of some really good, you know, how do I log on? You know, how do I get into webmail, which is more if you're in the SEC doing a function. But then there's things here, you've got a really good, you know, overview of MCOP, using MCOP, any frequently asked questions, if you just have general help, you know, if you've forgotten your password and things like that. So you can sort of have a look through here. And then if there's still information that you don't know, or, you know, there is a way to submit a request, and that'll shoot an email through to the support team, to the MCOP support team, and often will have come through to us in the SEC as well. So that one's quite a useful.
Right. Hey, Fee, we've just got a question from Dennis about EM Drive. So EM Drive is a DELT platform to go through there, but how would you describe EM Drive to somebody who's never used it before? Like our internal filing system?
Yeah, it's just a good way of a shared drive, basically. So if you're working on any products or plans or things like that, it's sort of set out in you know, you've got EM Drive, and then it's the SEC will have its own folder, and then that will break further down, and each functional unit will have its own folder. The support team use it a lot. It's a lot of our a lot of the working documents and things. So it's where a lot of the plans and a lot of, you know, anything that's currently being worked on. So it's just a really good, if you know, trying to share a lot of files by email instead, we might just pop things up in EM Drive for people to access. Yeah. So that's, yeah, it's a DELP system, but utilized by us. So that's one that you need to have FireWeb access for, which is a whole nother thing, but that's another DELP registration, but we use it quite a lot as well. And it's a good tool to keep track of DELP fires and things. So any of those, the large bushfires that we had, you know, you can get incident action plans and quite a lot of incident specific data from FireWeb there.
Yeah, I think that would almost be another great session. I mean, we can get some feedback and see if people want that, but FireWeb is another great tool, but yeah, another big beast.
Yeah, big beast, yeah. And there's a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
I think that's all. Any other questions that I can?
Yeah, guys, we'll have a little pause. I know we've had lots of questions in the chat, but before we move on from that 101 EM COP session and move into EM learning, has anyone got any questions for Fee or Steph? Anything you want to see more of? Anything you don't want to see more of?
You, Abbie? Yeah.
That's fine.
Just close it.
All right, great. Happy to move on to EM learning.
Yeah, alrighty, that's me again. Figure out how to get there. Alrighty, so another tab up the top here we've got is training. And a lovely link to EM Learn. So that's the main one. So you've also got an EM COP training site. So you can, that one is another registration. So two separate registrations. You've got the EM COP sort of live and incident side, and then a training side. And then you can also sort of click through and have an explore there. So we'll go into EM Learn.
And you don't have to come through COP to go to EM Learn. You can go directly straight to EM Learn, which the information is down on that little info sheet at the bottom of Reds in the documents.
Yeah, so you can just type in the web address. So once you sign in, you'll come into this page. So I've actually been doing a few of these today. So this is just the main screen. EM Learn's had a bit of a revamp in the past little while as well. So we're all sort of refamiliarising ourselves. So up in here, you've got your menu. So you've got...
Sorry, Fee, but just for anyone who doesn't know, EM Learning is where they keep all the e-learnings for, and particularly everybody in the SCC, but other agency staff as well. So if you come in, if you want to go on the roster, which any of us can, to work in the State Control Centre in one of their functional units, you have to take a lot of these courses on here, which are mandatory. So this has always existed, but it was never quite as flash as it is now. So over the past, you could probably answer that, the past little while, maybe 6 months, they've had a really big revamp of EM Learn. I've been working through the content. Some of it is actually absolutely fantastic. I think for our leadership, divisional leaders, all of the regional briefings are up on here, and for the IMT, it breaks it down into specific units. So there's definitely some useful stuff in here for all of our teams and all of our team members that you can recommend them or direct them to. Thanks,
a lot of it has obviously moved online this season, so there's more on there this season due to COVID. So we're trying to, obviously we can't really do that face-to-face classroom learning that has happened in the past. So previously, if you've wanted to come in and do a functional unit in the SCC, you'll sign up. Sometimes there might be a bit of pre-reading on EM Learn, but then you'll often always go in and do a classroom session for the day at the State Control Centre. So all of these are moving online. Some of them you'll still do some meetups, but so anything in here, SCC functional areas, is this really specific stuff. And if you are coming into the SCC now, we've got a few more site inductions, new starter inductions, and some of those are a bit more COVID specific now, and just the sort of the measures that we've had to put in place at the SCC to be COVID safe. So that's been a big challenge for us, obviously. You know, last season when Abbie and I were working, you know, you might have 150 people in the room at one time, in the building at one time. So what we've had to do is use the EMV sort of business as usual office space as a bit of an overflow for the State Control Centre for summer. So as I was telling Abbie this morning, anyone who works at EMV who's been working at home will have to continue to work from home until next April, because we just need the space in case we have a busy fire season or another busy season. We need, with all the COVID requirements, you can't fit everyone that you used to be able to in the room. So sort of it's going to be a challenge. It'll be, you know, fun to see how it all plays out. And we've got used to now a lot more people sort of being able to do a lot of these roles from home and things like that. So yeah, so everyone will have to do sort of these inductions and introductions to the SCC when you first come in. And then in here, you'll have each section. So we've got sort of our intelligence section, and the intelligence will obviously, you know, we've got intel and strategic intel now, mapping, fire behaviour analysts. The MLO one is if you guys want to come in and be Red Cross MLOs, you'll be able to do this intelligence one. And then some more public info and operations planning, and then a bit more about sort of State Control Centre specific. Also this year, the regional briefings have moved online. So I've signed up for them, so you can see them all here. So each region. So I'll just jump into one, we can have a look. So each one, so there's a little just 5-minute sort of e-learn that you'll need to do, and I'll just give you a sort of a rundown of how they're working this season. And then there's a lot of, you know, these sector leadership stuff. I was watching some earlier. So we've got, you know, the commissioners, the deputy commissioners, the chiefs of each agency. I've sort of done just little videos in here about sort of expectations and behaviour and that sort of stuff. And then in here, so we've got webinars that I believe will be scheduled, and there'll be live ones coming up, but again, they'll be recorded. So if you can't attend those live ones, you'll be able to watch them back later. But
Sophie, if you belong to, or if you're a divisional operations officer or team member in one of these regions and you would like to attend the live webinar, you have to have enrolled for the relevant briefing first.
I believe so, yeah. So you enroll. I was doing some of the SCC sort of state specific ones myself this morning. And so some of them, it's a very quick sort of 5-minute, you know, briefing updates, like 5-minute sort of video to watch. And then so some of these might be locked, some of them might come up once you've enrolled, and you just have to sort of watch through those videos first and things, but they're quite short. And then that will unlock the webinar session for you.
Okay. And then do you get advised on when the webinar will be held?
So let's have a look, and I can see, because I had a look for some here. Let's look at these aviation ones. So oh yeah, let's go. So back here, I watched some of this pre-one, and then it comes up here in the waiting list. And then here it'll be in there the schedule, so it'll tell you what date they're scheduled for.
Okay.
And you'll be able to jump in those ways. I can always go for a regional one and we can see what happens.
And anyone, all Red Cross people have access to all of these and the live briefings. Is that right?
Enrolled at EM Learning,
yep.
You'll be able to jump in. And another really, really useful one is the SEMP briefing.
Yep.
So we released the new State Emergency Management Plan, replacing the State Emergency Response Plan. So this came live on September 30. So I've been watching. So this one is a good example. So there was a quick little e-learn that I did just to it sort of gave you a quick overview of here's what it is. You could download the SEMP from there. And then these briefings have already happened and you can just jump in and watch them at your own pace. So it's sort of an hour-long briefing about the SEMP itself. So that, yeah, replace the response plan just to sort of try and be a bit more, inclusive and encompass all phases of an emergency, sort of right from mitigation to recovery. So that one's a good one that I would recommend. I'm still working my way through that one.
Sorry, Fee, we've had a question from Susan in chat.
Yep.
Include the community meetings that are done during and after an emergency, or will they still be accessible only through council's Facebook or media pages?
That's a great question. I don't know if they will go up on here because it's more of a sort of a learning portal sort of. So I don't think it'll be used that way.
Imagine everything that will be going out publicly to the public will just be on Facebook. Yeah,
so recently SES did for the Torquay Dam, they did a WebEx or a seminar, a community meeting. They tried it out for the Torquay Dam incident. I know they used that and said that it was quite successful. So, it's been some good tests of our systems and how to run community meetings and that sort of stuff. So, yes.
Great. And Fee, can you just show us that EMCOP e-learning as well? Just in case anyone wants to come back and kind of look at anything in detail. Just up on your next row, right above where you are.
So yeah, so then we've got, briefings. When you come in, you've got your briefings, so the SEMP and all the regional and pre-season briefings. And then we've got general, a few COVID ones, and then this good MCOP one. So I did that one when I first started 2 years ago. But yeah, it's got a good little introductory video. And then you've got your situational awareness and the collaboration stuff is what we were talking about, which would be more useful for you guys in an IMT setting. And then publisher, it's a bit different. That's more if you're going to be working and doing community warnings and information. But so I've already enrolled, but what you would do, you would go into those and you could just click enroll, and that would, so here it'll tell you what you've already enrolled in. So I've already enrolled in that one, but if I wanted to, I could enroll in some 10-minute pandemic awareness. So situational awareness, this one's quite a good one, just explaining that situation tab and all the different layers. There's some good ones in here, fundamentals of emergency management. I think we did those when we first started, Abbie. It's a good, just sort of good base level intro. And then, yeah, then you've got the state tier, which was those other ones that I was showing you, which are a bit more specific to functional units and things like that. And they're the things that if you do want to come in and do a function in the SCC, you'd have to go through these. So some of them are quite long, but some of the courses that you would do would be a day long course. So you can click in and you can see what it's, what's in there. and then the structure. And then so it's made up of these different learns. So some of them, if you wanted to do the MLO, if you've already done collaboration and MCOP, you would just have to then tick off that last little one to sort of complete that whole course.
Mm.
Cool. Any other questions about this section?
Nothing heard, Fee?
Nothing heard.
Mm.
So then, yeah, we can see what you've done as well. And this is quite handy. So when we first signed up, their username was firstname.last name. And if you haven't used it in a while, everyone sort of forgot that. So now it's good that you've got your, it's by email address now.
And Fee, will Red Cross people be approved without a Red Cross email?
I can ask Justin Cabell that
Yeah.
one. I can follow up. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Abbie, I've had experience with getting access without a Red Cross email, but I think it goes to your agency that you nominate for some sort of verification approval.
Yeah, I know that's the case.
It takes longer for the password to come through.
Yeah. I think just so they can follow up and
Make sure nobody's stealing the e-learnings.
Yeah, no one's
Yeah.
stealing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And Craig and Kat have just asked, can the email address be changed from EMCOP login to a personal email address? Oh, to a Red Cross email address.
You'd have to, for MCOP, you'd have to just re-register.
Can we do that in admin, Fee, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can do it. I don't know. I don't think you can change email addresses though. So, because I've had a look at that for an agency call that I took the other day. So you just have to re-register, but the support team could then make your previous account inactive but it's, you know, it can be handy as well it was more for us and at work, so you can log on different computers or different browsers and things using different email addresses. So, but yeah, definitely you can just re-register with Red Cross specific email addresses.
Right. Awesome, Fee. Thank you very much for that. I think we're right on time. Has anyone else got any questions or comments, or anyone want to know any deep, dark secrets about the State Control Centre?
Now's
Now's the time to ask away. No, nothing heard. All right, one last question before we finish up. So Susan says, I've got a registration for a training site, which is different from the learning. So Fee, is it the training site and the live site are two different, and you need two different registrations, is that right?
I would say yes. To the EM Learn or EM COP?
EM COP, the training for...
Yeah, it's two different
okay.
registrations. So
same email address?
You can, yeah. So you've got, you know, here we go. You must register separately on the MCOP incident. So the MCOP incident was the one that we were running you through.
Yep.
Then MCOP training. So two different ones. I wonder if I don't know if I...
And these are all tech questions coming your way, Fiona. So JJ asks, she already has access with her CFA email. Will that impact what I can access for my Red Cross role, or do I need to create a separate account?
No, that won't impact.
It's more, the access levels are more for, you know, most users who register from agencies will have the same sort of access level. It's more the sort of support team behind the scenes and maybe public info, people who need publishing access, but you can still access all of the same, look at the same things. It might just be what you can do. So mine just up here will, in situation, my tools tab. I've just got a bit more going on in that, you know, some admin things that if you wouldn't really have in your section. So it's just sort of, there's not really much that, the base level access has pretty much everything you need.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. So if people want more information, or if anyone from this session wants anything more detailed, like another session, like Fireweb is a good one. I think it's definitely at least, you know, a good half an hour for us to go through that with people. But should people just contact me and then I can get in touch with you guys to potentially come back and walk us through some more things?
Yeah, or any questions. So anyone can email me even, or just I'm sure Steph for any live questions, you can call the State Control Centre and you might be lucky enough to get Steph answering your phone.
Yeah, nice. And I'm always happy to help as well.
Yeah. Just trying to think if there's anything else exciting. Some of these information displays are quite fun. So let's have a look. Storm weather. So this is just sort of an overview of all of the different displays. So often we might have something like this up on the screens. Some like weather warnings, fire weather. Not much going on in terms of fire weather, all this grassland curing, and so there's just a lot of situational sort of useful things in here. You've even got power outages, you know, so there's all any planned or unplanned power outages. We'll often look at this, we'll have this up on the screens on a hot day. We'll often have that one up because, you know, you'll meet trigger points for sort of a certain amount of customers online. Also got traffic cams. There's all sorts of just fun things in here, you know, so good to see there's not much traffic on the roads at the moment.
Beautiful, lots of little sneaky things to look at.
Yeah.
All right, great.
This one's good actually. MJ Pick Key Messages is another big one that's produced. And so that's like similar to the talking points we were talking about before. These are another really good thing for anyone preparing sort of, again, media comms teams. So the MJ Pick is the Emergency Management Joint Public Information Committee. So there'd probably be there'd be Red Cross reps on that one. So again, all sorts of useful information.
JJ just asked, Fee, if you, just before we wrap up, if you want to show people where the calendar for the MEPC meetings and where the minutes are. I think that might probably be useful for some of our divisional leadership.
Yes, where even is that?
Oh, JJ, you might have to jump in and show Fiona where that is.
I don't use these. Is it in the regions, I would say?
Yes, regions and then calendar.
Yeah, oh yeah, there we go.
Region calendar.
You can see
and hopefully they should have popped them in there, and there should be also links with any sort of documents, so attachments and minutes should be available as well through MCOP.
Where are the minutes kept, JJ?
Good question. I know they're meant to be in there. I think they may be linked to the calendar. Dennis, you'd know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you jump in.
Yeah, my experience is that they don't all use them. So some, like one in my area, puts them up here, but the others don't. So I can't rely on this as the one point of truth.
Yeah, I see some of them are password protected as well.
South Gippsland, I believe, use it. Because I've talked about it before.
Again, yeah, so we've got the calendars here, so fun stuff in there. So yeah, this regional section.
Yeah, and so you'll be able to find the meetings in there, and they usually put in the meeting minutes as well.
And they'll have their own schedules as well. So similar to our state one, each region will have its own schedule of what meetings are going on there. So your RMTs and things like that. Yep. Then contact list, training and exercise schedule. Yeah, so some of them, Gippsland, you know, you can see using this, but some, well, that's a bit older. 2019. So it might be that everyone just needs to get back into the swing of things.
Everyone needs to get up and do their updates.
Yeah.
Great, thanks so much, Fee and Steph, for coming along. I really appreciate your time. I hope everyone now knows how to log in to EMCOP. You now know how to check the weather. You now know how to listen to the weather briefings that happen every day. Just really those key things that happen. Please get in touch with me if there's anything that you want to do more. I know we talked potentially about the fire web. There's a lot of detail on there in terms of the weather, reading bushfire predictions and fuel loads and all that kind of stuff. If that's something that you guys are keen on, or if there's something that you want to dive a bit deeper into, just holler out, let me know. I can get in touch with Fee and Steph and we can schedule something else. But there's a lot. I think I can see JJ smiling. There's a lot to cover in EM COP, and yeah, this was just to get you logged in and get you on your way.
Just have an explore really, and you'll be able to see what's there.
Great. Thanks everybody. If no one's got anything more to add. Quiet bunch tonight. That's because everybody's on mute. I just forgot everyone's on mute.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everybody.
Abbie, Fiona mentioned the state inquiries, rather the state control centre, as working from home. Does that how does that work with if we have Register, Find, Reunite activated?
Yeah, so it's going to be a challenge. I know that the relief and recovery team, a lot of them have been working from home, but it just is dependent on the situation. So for anyone that can work from home at the SCC, we're trying to promote to do that. But of course, there are a lot of roles that really do need to be present. So in the support team, of course, we couldn't have work from home days. We had to be there in that 24/7 presence, and then some of the functions still have a presence there. So it's just sort of trying to spread it out. So I imagine if we did have a larger event, and, you know, like last season where we had the relief and recovery team, we had a lot of members in the State Control Centre. So it would just be dependent on the situation and what could be done from home. They might have some presence in the SCC and then some from home, depending on what the work was. But I think that's going to be flexible, and we'll figure it out as we go, as things come up, I think, in the upcoming season.
Yeah, that's fair enough, Fiona, but working from the Red Cross Inquiry Centre, we need to be conscious of privacy in terms of Register, Find, Reunite, particularly.
Yeah.
Data processing and telephone work. So, yeah, it's just a question that I've had on my mind for a while.
Yeah, I would imagine that anything that was that specific, it'd just be, you know, they'd be from the SCC, and things that couldn't be really done from home for those reasons, you'd still be able to have the presence. Yeah.
That's one of the things we're testing in the operational exercise, Eric. So happy if you want to be involved. So we've been running those telephone outreach for 8 months now from home, and the confidentiality side around data and having those conversations while you're at home and other people who are in the home, you know, how do we shred paper properly, all those kind of things. We've done some pretty amazing work on challenging. I know a lot of people in this room can speak to that. Probably Susan can speak to that a little bit more. It's been a massive challenge for all of us and a huge learning curve. I think we've made some big gains, and the VEEK's our next challenge, Eric, so I'd love to have you on board with that. Last week, we tested the systems of the VEEK. We know that it works remotely, the tech works, but now we've got to put some time and effort into the people, because it's a very real scenario that can happen, that we are unable to come into the office. I mean, we were almost very close to that happening. So we need to be ready for that. And I absolutely hear your thoughts about how that might be challenging. So that's something that we're going to test soon, and happy to have you on board.
Can I ask a question, Abbie?
Yeah.
Tony here. Have we had any issues regarding privacy with working from home?
Nothing, no big ones, no really big data breaches or anything like that. We've been incredibly careful. We're very lucky the IT department at Red Cross are on it, to say the least.
Yeah, and I think our volunteers.
Yeah, look, and I think that we've learned along the way. I'll be transparent. We weren't perfect when it first kicked off. We've had to implement policies and procedures. We'd never done this before. We've never done telephone outreach before. I think we're very good now. I think when new volunteers come on to do their any kind of outreach shifts, there is a process to go through to cover off all of that information. So can we do better? Probably, yeah. Yep. I think we can always continue to learn and do better, but I think we're doing pretty well. And I think that shows by us not having any really large data breaches. And then I think the VEEC is the next big challenge, really.
I think the major issue with the VEEC is all the Register, Find, Reunite forms we get from all the relief centres. I mean, I dread to think how many we actually had to enter last year. And the question is how you actually get them out to people to do.
Exactly.
This might be that sort of advisory bulletin stuff that, you know, the relief team are working on, is that, you know, how are we going to operate those sort of things in the COVID environment. There's a lot of work being done there in preparation.
Lots of data sharing that we need to make sure that we're doing securely. But yeah, that's one of the challenges that we're talking about at the moment, all those paper forms coming in through fax or being scanned. How do we manage that appropriately if we need to input, if we're getting the filled out forms and we actually need to input them into the system. So that's one of the challenges. But yeah. So
I was just going to say that I'm quite sure there's quite a few volunteers who won't be heartbroken if they're not sitting entering some of those forms.
Oh, look, and you know, the easiest way to go is to really encourage the online for people to enter online, but you know, it can't happen all the time when the internet's down or someone doesn't have access to their phone. But we absolutely have to challenge it, and that's a hurdle that we're working on at the moment, and we absolutely have to. We have to be ready for that. I think if COVID's taught us anything, that could definitely happen, and it could happen next week or the week after. You know, if restrictions are laid back on again, it'll be a challenge. And if anyone has any input on that, that's a piece I'm working on at the moment for the exercise. But Eric or anyone else, happy to hear your input on ways to overcome that. But we definitely can do it. 2020 has taught us that we can do everything virtually. I'm a 100% believer in that. So we can do it. We just need to find the best practices and principles to do it.
Sandy, I'm disappointed at your last comment.
What's that?
Oh, people not being enthused about doing all the data processing.
Oh. No, it's Jenny, not Sandy. It's Jenny Burns. My camera's not working.
My apologies, Jenny.
I'm talking from personal experience. My fingers are still exhausted, especially from the ones from New South Wales.
Well, that's a good lesson for us, isn't it? To overcome that in the process. Use online as much as we can.
Just in relation to outreach work, Abbie, you mentioned that we haven't done it before. We actually have in a similar context. I think Tony and Dennis may have been involved in the peat fires with the local councils and crisis work. So we have worked through that area before, and both Tony and Dennis and a few others work from home.
Yeah.
My apologies, sorry.
But that was different times as well. So, yeah. So
it was
that was different times, but the work was exactly the same.
Yeah,
the work was, and the confidentiality was exactly the same. We had no problems.
True.
Yeah.
And sort of within the CASI and the prior to CASI, you just there's a privacy statement that's read to the individual. Documents that we have in our hands, if we write notes, they get destroyed through a shredder or soaked in water or whatever disposal method we use. Some people use burning them up, but you know, that's all right, whatever you want to do. But we're also entering the data into secure sort of holding spaces, the CCM or the escalations in a locked spreadsheet, whereas before we did the CCM.
We used Crisis Works, which was secure.
Yeah, but we were just prior to that with the sort of outbound helping calls. We were just putting stuff on a spreadsheet, so that was more of an issue because there wasn't layers of protection of that either.
Oh, our initial outreach before CASI,
yeah. But every volunteer is aware of how to behave and to work in a quiet space, you know, where you can shut a door. And yeah, so it's just common sense. It's all just, you know, applying how you wouldn't want to have a family of 5 listening to you tell their story. So. Yep.
Right, good questions though. Yeah, let's, Eric, get in touch about the VEEK. Happy to have a chat with you tomorrow and come on board and help us test it and practice it and make sure that it works. Always need an extra set of hands. That invitation's open to anyone.
Yeah, will do. I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. Awesome. All right, gang, thanks. So nice to see all your beautiful faces. I love Zoom for this. Makes my heart sing. It's so great. I don't know if, just before we leave, I don't know if any of you were at the Welcome Festival where we had 211 participants on Zoom the other night. Whoa.
It was great.
Wow. Amazing.
And there's a few new planning people here around the table as well, which is really lovely. Some new IMT members. It's really nice to see their faces.
Great.
So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Got next session next week, and don't forget, most importantly, the IMT is being featured in session 3. So that will be a session to watch out for. Thanks, everyone.
I think we're all zoomed out.
I know. So you've had enough. 6 months ago, we were all like, what's Zoom? And now we're like, please do not invite me to another Zoom.
Yeah.
At least you can have a cup of tea and eat your dinner while you're doing it, maybe.
So well, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I have 3 meetings at one time.
Oh, multitasker, JJ.
3 screens. 3 screens, JJ. Yeah.
That's what I need. Get a couple of extra computers and then I can do it.
Oh, you need 3 brains as well. I just think it's all, we can see the top bits of everybody, but nobody knows what you've got on underneath, do you? We could be wearing our daggy slippers and our pajamas, and you know, I think that's quite joyful. Oh, go Alice.
Remind me not to stand up, Susan.
And as well.
I've got 3 jumpers on because I'm so cold in my house.
Yeah, I'm wearing my fur today.
Yes, and it's gorgeous, gorgeous fur.
Hasn't stopped raining here, so.
Yeah, it's in and out of rain here, so we're kind of in the middle of that circle, you know, that whole.
We're watching it go round.
Watching it go around. Yeah.
All righty, I'm going to go and get my hubby's dinner.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.